Hello and welcome. Marq Neasman here. You're tuned in to another high-performance leadership masterclass. And this one is going to be amazing. We're having a great conversation today. And that conversation is really going to take a deep dive into culture. What is it and how do we go about in expanding on it as leaders, as executives, as founders, as individuals who are in charge of leading people. Okay. And so, with no further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. But let's draw a red velvet rope. Okay. Like in most cases regarding these high performance leadership masterclasses, if you are an executive, if you are a business leader, if you are a business owner or a founder, if you are growing and expounding in your company as an entrepreneur, then this is a great conversation for you. If you are an individual who is maybe just seeking growth professionally, this conversation will be one to lean in on, but it's not necessarily going to apply to you as much as if you have the responsibility of leading people. Okay, so that being said, we want to just curtail our audience and make sure that we're speaking to the right people first. Secondly, if you are having issues with retention, if you are struggling to create buy-in, if you find yourself repeating the same things over and over and over again, if you see where individuals are, if you see where your environment is torn and there isn't a lot of cohesiveness going on or synergy inside of your organization, this is probably the conversation for you. And we're going to be talking about a method that not only do we apply inside of Marq Neasman Consulting, but actually one that we help other organizations apply in their culture transformation. So if you are watching this because you're trying to learn more about culture and how you can incorporate it, maybe you're in HR, maybe you're an HR leader, maybe again, like I said, maybe you are an executive that's growing out your organization. This is going to be a great conversation for you to have. Honestly, we start reaching these culture problems right at about 50 employees. From 50 employees up, you start seeing culture become a serious issue. Once you breach that 25 employee mark, you enter into a whole nother realm of issues and problems that you have to navigate. And right at that 50 employee mark, you start to see where procedures, processes, things of that nature really need to be in place and you really need to be grounded in them. So if that's you, man, welcome to the party. Please take time to subscribe if you find value in this video, because there will be plenty more to come. I can promise you that. So with no further ado, let's lock in. Today, we're talking about the impact method. All right. The impact method is what we utilize both internally and externally to help organizations transform their culture. Now, that transformation could happen. It could be on a lower level regarding, when I say lower level, I mean it could be departmental, right? Or it could be as wide as the organization, multi-sectional, connecting each department within the organization together. It really doesn't matter. All right. So understand this first. The impact method, for one, it does exactly what it says. It creates impact within your organization, which should be the ultimate goal of the culture. The reason culture is important for us as leaders is because we can't be everywhere all the time. But we, in that same respect, we have an obligation to replicate ourselves in our staff, in our team, in our associates, in our employees. Now, when we say replicate ourselves, we're not necessarily talking about our mindset, right? You think different from the other individuals within your organization, and that's a good thing, right? Remember, great minds don't think alike, great minds think together, right? So you definitely want different thought patterns within your organization. However, when it comes to the principles that your organization abides by, no, those should all be the same. When it comes to the core values that your organization aligns with, those should all be the same, right? how we go about getting it done, that's where we leverage creativity and innovation in everything that we're doing. That's where we love ideas, right? And the implementation of those ideas. And so this conversation today is going to be talking about how you can leverage this impact method within your own framework aligned with your organization, aligned with your leadership style. Okay. Now, to get this show started, impact. Each letter represents something else. The letter I represents identity. Identity. The letter M represents mission. The letter P represents purpose. The letter A represents adaptability or the attitude therein. And we'll talk about why on each of these. The letter C represents core values. And the letter T represents trust. These are what we have found based off of research, data, analytics. We found that these core areas are what actually are the most important aspects of creating everything from environmental safety, psychological safety inside of your organization, all the way over to improving the performance of team members, okay, and holding management accountable. So at the heart of this thing, of any organization, there are only two things there, right? It's capital in the form of assets or product, and there are minds, and that's it. It's capital and minds, and getting those two to work together cohesively is ultimately what the purpose of formulating a culture is, right? Because again, we can't be everywhere at all the time at the same time, right? And so let's get into it. No further ado, right? The first one that we have is identity. Now, when we talk about identity, Maxwell Maltz actually wrote a book. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And in this book, he speaks about this profound breakthrough that he came to find out as a plastic surgeon. And what he came to realize as a plastic surgeon is that whenever he would go about fixing someone's face or arm or leg or whatever the deformity was that was on their body, whenever he fixed it, he noticed in most cases a change in the persona of that individual, meaning their personality shifted. They took on different character traits. They became a different person. And it was based off of what happened on their exterior that changed the interior. And so what he began to do a deep dive and a study on is how a person's self-image actually is manifested and reflects in their exterior habits or behaviors, or things that they would do. And what we came to learn is that there's a direct correlation between how one views themselves and the habits or the actions that they will take beyond that. And so when we think about your organization 9 times out of 10 has certain individuals that you've noticed perform better in different situations, all right? Or ultimately you should have a mission or something you built that organization because there's a mission or something you're trying to accomplish. There's a purpose for your existence. Now, that purpose should have a specific type of person that helps to get it done. That person should have an identity that aligns with the work you want them to excel at. And the reason why is based off of that same principle. Identity, what it says here, it says identity answers the question, who are we? Who are we? Right? Now, the reason that that's an important question is because, again, what we came to discover is the moment you know who you are innately, the moment you know who you are, you almost automatically know what to do. You almost automatically know what to do. You even better, you know what not to do, right? So when we talk about your organization, your culture, it's important that each individual carries an identity, because in them carrying that identity, no matter what it is that you're in them carrying that identity, they almost automatically know how to present themselves. Now, it's not a cure-all, right? There are still backgrounds, there is still former knowledge, there is still, or maybe a knowledge gap therein between one employee versus another. But all in all, for the most, everyone kind of knows which direction to tread in, right? And that's important. And if you notice any large organization or any prominent organization, which is a better word, they usually have some word or some language that they go by internally. If it hasn't, protruded outside of that organization and gone into actually into the culture where they may have a large following, and that large following is known by a specific name, right? Fans, in other words. Okay. And so what I did was just took the example of how we frame ourselves here inside of Marq Neasman Consulting. And now, for emphasis, we are a high performance leadership firm. Okay. That's what makes us a one of one, separate from anyone else, right? And so what we say here about our identity is that we are high performance leaders. All right. Those are individuals with skill sets and character that work together cohesively with a growth mindset for the general success of themselves and others in impact, income, and influence. Okay. That's our identity. Okay. And so because we take on that degree of identity, there are some things that naturally we do and some things that we don't do. Right. And so in that conversation right here, we say in discovering who we are, we answer the question, what we do. Right. Now, naturally, as I'm saying this, I'm sure that your mind is probably, moving a little bit, and that's a good thing. And you're thinking about how this applies to you inside of your organization, right? And like I mentioned, naturally, it leads to that second question, what we do. Now, we frame that second question of what do we do behind the word mission, right? So it naturally flows, the identity naturally flows into the M, impact. I'm sorry, mission. So right here, mission. Now, just to not overwhelm you any bit, mission answers the question, what are we doing? What are we doing? Makes sense, right? And for us inside of Marq Neasman Consulting, we are replicating ourselves and others through the methodology of high performance leadership, right? Every organization, that's a part of our mission. A part of our mission is to make sure that high performance leadership expands the globe. We want to take this concept and reach every organization, all right? Every organization that's qualified for it, right? Because we believe that it's the way, truth, and light in regard to seeing an organization thrive, okay? In regard to developing leaders, which is our ultimate goal. So right here, we say we break down high performance and leadership into two different categories. High performance is skill sets, it's capability, it's IQ, it's competency, right? But then there is leadership, and leadership is soft skills, it's connection, it's EQ and character, right? So we focus on both of these entities in different ways with different solutions. Okay. But then in the same step, we take the opportunity to say what we are not doing. What we are not doing. Okay. We do not work with anyone that does not have a strong desire to grow as a high performance leader. Yeah, if you don't have a desire to grow as a high performance leader, there's nothing else for us to talk about in regard to our work and what we do, right? And the individuals that we work with. And so naturally this draws that velvet rope, and this allows us to focus on a specific group of people and not others, right? And we say here, hey, we do not serve the majority. The majority of people will never sign up to be leaders, because to sign up to be a leader is to sign up to responsibility, right? So you see how we are able to go deep into what it looks like regarding our mission, and that helps our staff, that helps our teams to focus their lens on just a specific type of person or a specific group of people, for that matter, right? And that's important for you, and that's important for your organization as well. All right, the next thing is that the mission helps us to accomplish is, where are we going? Right? So we say here, and this is obviously aligned directly with your vision, right? But here we say we are establishing a new norm to govern leaders in business. That's where we're going. We want to establish a new norm that when we look 10, 20, 30 years into the future, that's our metric. Are people establishing high performance leadership as the norm, right? Is it becoming mainstream? Can we be a part of the influence that helps high performance leadership become the new norm, become mainstream? That's our goal. Okay. And then last, is it easy for followers and onlookers to embrace? Right? Back to internal communication and external communication. Is it easy for people to embrace? Can they, when they hear the word, can they wrap their mind around it? Right? Does it intrigue them? Does it draw them in? Does it give them a opportunity at a greater future than what they're currently experiencing? Does it give them more opportunity? Becomes the question. Well, high performance leadership absolutely gives you more opportunity. It absolutely speaks to a better, more evolved person and self, right? And so we can answer yes, right? And so here, if we answer yes, then the next question that we must ask is, are they an ideal client, employee, partner, or ambassador? And you should be asking these same questions, right? Are they an ideal client, employee, partner, or ambassador? And if no, then we know what to do. We don't move forward with it. Okay. We don't move forward with it. All right. So that is what embodies mission. Now on to purpose. When we talk about purpose, what exactly are we talking about? Purpose is simple. It's why are we doing this, right? What's the purpose behind doing this? What's the purpose behind, for us internally anyway, what's the purpose that we set out to become high performance leaders and persuade or influence mainstream to make high performance leadership the new norm? What's the whole deal about doing it? All right? And how does it connect? Okay. So, from a psychological standpoint, every human aspires to be a better version of themselves. You naturally attract to characters that are the same level as yours or better than yours, right? When I say character, I mean personalities, personas, people. You attract to people with the same degree of character as yours or better, always, because innately you have a desire to grow, see more life. And somewhere subconsciously, you realize that in order for you to see more, do more, and have more, you must first become more, right? It's a simple concept, right? It doesn't take too much to wrap your mind around. And innately, you understand that. All people understand that. Now, what degree people pursue that is, it varies. It varies drastically. But nonetheless, everyone wants more. Everyone naturally wants more. Okay. Stagnance is the enemy of us all. Okay. And so if we had to ask that question, well, how does and you have to ask the same question, but how does high performance leadership connect to the everyday individual? Well, it really sums it up into what I said. There are really only two types of people. There are leaders and there are followers, right? Well, in order to become a great a great leader, is it required that I be a good follower? I would say yes. And then being a good follower, what is it that I'm probably learning first? Well, you're probably learning skill sets first, high performance skill sets to be exact, because high performance skill sets transfer and they allow you to go into any industry, they allow you to topple any mountain, and they allow you to step foot into any organization and add value. And that should ultimately be your job. When we talk about the desire for that people have to be wealthy, what they really desire is freedom. And high performance skill sets give you freedom. When you know when you have a talent or a skill set that allows you to move and go freely as you choose, that's power. That's power. And in most cases, great leaders have a high performance skill set. They have something that they do really, really well. And that's what intrigued people from the beginning to start to follow them or to lean in and listen to them. Now, whether they continue to follow them is all based on their character, right? And so that's where high performance leadership connects. It's the two questions that we're asking people consistently, right? What can I trust you with my life? Do you have a skill set? Do you have something that adds value to me? And can I trust you with my wife? Do you, in some way, shape, or form, have character that allows me to do life with you? Am I able to actually build with you, right? And that example of, can I trust you with my life and can I trust you with my wife? We use that a lot when we do work with with the Department of Defense. That's one of our contracts that we have, and it resonates with them because naturally, these are our frontline defenders protecting us day in and day out. And a huge shout out to, if you're a veteran looking at this, a huge shout out and a huge thanks to the work that you've done or are still doing to whatever capacity. So right here, the next question is, you were designed to expand on life. Everyone was, right? That's the natural human evolution is procreation, right? Everyone is designed to expand on life. Well, I can promise you, if you ask any employer, obviously you're an employee listening to this, do they want more business? Do they want a greater impact in their economy? Do they desire for a greater influence, both internally and externally? They will always say yes. It's natural. We all aspire for more life, right? Right here, and in order to do that, we realize that we must enhance the lives of a person or people around us, right? That's literally the purpose of every person's life. If a person said, hey, I don't know my purpose, most people don't. But if a person says, hey, I don't know my purpose or what it was I was designed to do, one thing we can say for certain is the purpose on your life is to expand the life of a person or people. That's for certain. You were created on this earth because you have built inside of you the ability, the capability, the talent, the gifts to actually help other people. It's like an apple tree, right? Apple trees don't eat apples. Apple trees grow apples as a byproduct of them being rooted in the proper nutrition, the proper soil. The apples are a byproduct, and other people enjoy the byproduct. Well, that's the same way for you. That's the same way for us here in Marq Neasman Consulting. We realize that if we just focus on being high performance leaders, we'll produce a byproduct. And that byproduct that we produce isn't for us. That byproduct that we produce is for the enrichment of other people's lives, right? And that's what makes us talented management consultants. That same effective management consultants. But there's the same conversation that should be being had for you, right? For your team, for your organization, right? This is a conversation that you should absolutely open up for at your quarterly meetings or at your reviews or whenever you schedule them, in your retreats, whatever the case may be. This is a powerful conversation to have and to help move the needle in just how a person views themselves. Okay. Purpose is illuminated through service, right? Everyone that's in business, it's like I said, business is only made up of two things: minds and capital. That's it, right? Minds and capital. That's the only thing that's there. It's assets, but those minds working together cohesively, right? Leveraging whatever assets you have in order to add value or serve other people. That's the name of the game. And what happens innately, the more that we lean into serving others, actually we come into learning what our purpose is. The more we can forget about self. It's very, very difficult for humans to do this. It's not an easy process to get a human being to stop thinking about themselves. But that's actually the way to to greater life. The way to greater life is through purpose. And your purpose always is going to be connected to a person or to people. Right here, last we say, you unveil purpose through leaning into the lives of others. No one is born and just knows their purpose. No, you come into it. You come into it by doing life, by serving. And there are some things that you'll do great at and some things you won't, right? This is understood. This is known. Okay. So when it comes to this conversation, it can get quite interesting. All right. Because sometimes you may be dealing with an employee that says, hey, well, I don't necessarily know my purpose, but I know that I want to make money and provide for my family. And I'll say, and naturally we'll say, absolutely, that is a part of your purpose. That's a part of your purpose, right? That's a part of your overarching purpose. But you actually have talent and skill sets that help to get that accomplished, right? And whether a person is in the right seat, the right person in the right seat, meaning has your HR department hired accordingly, or has your management been trained on how to properly hire for the roles that they're required to play within the organization. That's something that is really predicated on your KPIs and SOPs, right? Sometimes we don't know the right answer to that until the process is done. However, nonetheless, what we can absolutely say is that we should be focused on hiring professionals, right? What's a professional? A professional is anyone that is able to do something at 80% or better than anyone else in the marketplace. If you're able to perform at 80% or better than anyone else in the marketplace, that qualifies you as a professional. So, in regard to a person leaning into their purpose and what our role is as business leaders, we should absolutely be focused on helping individuals manifest their purpose. That purpose should go beyond them benefiting the company. It should go beyond that. All right. It should. Now, everyone's morals may not align with that message, but we're focused on being high performance leaders and on influencing others to be high performance leaders. And so naturally, that is our premise. And we realize that when we focus on helping individuals live out their purpose from a holistic standpoint, they tend to stay with us longer. So our retention rate is very high, right? We retain top talent very well. We don't have a problem keeping people in. We don't have a high turnover rate here. But I believe that one of the reasons is this impact method, and one of the keys is our understanding of purpose within that impact method. So with no further delay, let's move forward. All right. And let me know in the comments, please feel free to comment on this. We see it, we check all of the comments. And we love to respond to you. So let us know what you think about this as we go through this. All right. So the next one that we're going to focus on is adaptability. Now, you can look up just about any study that's been done on CEOs or on the executive or the C-suite, and they will tell you hands down about 60 to 40 a ratio or better, meaning 60% and up will say that hands down adaptability is the greatest skill set that not only an executive should possess, but as well as an employee. Why would they say that? Because what those executives understand is that change is inevitable. Change is going to happen because there are so many moving pieces, so many dichotomies, so many elements that any business, no matter what the industry you are in, is up against. And why is that? I mean, if you just want to keep it really simple, because people are born and die every day. All right, just keeping it simple. People are born and die every single day. Assets move in milliseconds every single day. Transactions are made, business deals are made. Okay, politics play a role in this. Okay, the world has not yet come into a place of completion. It's still growing. It's still formulating. It's still gaining an identity of who it is. Obviously, we're talking about people here, right? But because of these moving pieces, there is a lot of barriers that one must overcome to be successful in business. And that requires you to change. That requires me to change. It requires us to adapt, right? We can't just lock in on being one. Aside from that, we should be encouraging growth, and growth in itself is very uncomfortable. It requires you to adapt consistently. No one, anyone that is always comfortable, they are not growing, right? Unless we've gotten to a place where we gain comfort in being uncomfortable, right? But that's adaptability at its supremacy. So this is a trait or an attitude and approach to life that we're constantly looking for within individuals, right? Within our C, you should be looking for this, especially in your C-suite, because I can promise you that if in your C-suite there are people who don't show adaptability, it will trickle downhill. All right, and that can lead to um, those are some conversations for another day. But I can promise you, those aren't the ones you want to have with us, right? So here, like we said, change is inevitable. Who, how, what, and where we serve all subject to change, right? Now, when we talk about our vision, your vision doesn't change. Your vision as an organization should rarely change, right? But how you go about accomplishing that vision, 9 times out of 10, it will change. It will change. It will change, especially if you're leaning into innovation. It will change. If you're an innovator, if you were born to bring like we are, we're bringing a new concept for the most to the marketplace. Many people have heard of high performance leadership, but most have not, right? So we are innovators in this. We're not the only ones, but we're definitely frontiers in this conversation of high performance leadership and bringing it to the masses so that they can implement it and understand it and be a part of their DNA as an organization. And this is something we have to understand, right? My DNA as a human being does not change at a rapid pace. It pretty much stays the same, right? It pretty much stays the same. Now, I can live anywhere though, and I can speak to anyone, right? And that's the same thing here. Who, how, what, or where we serve. I can serve anywhere, anybody at any given time, right? Those things are all subject to change. But for the most, my DNA does not change. For the most, it remains the same. Okay. One of the most powerful traits of humans is their ability to adapt. If this is prevalent in the people, it will be evident in the culture. And that's just what you heard me say about our C suite. It has to be prevalent in your C suite, it has to be prevalent in your leadership. If staff members, if associates, if employees can see where you hold the ability to adapt when life happens, they will take on that same trait. They will take on that same trait. Okay. You often have heard it said, keeping it simple, you've often heard it said, it's not the strongest or the smartest that survives. It's the one that's able to adapt. It's the one that holds the ability to adapt. Being smart is great. Being strong is great. Only if you have the ability to adapt, right? There are 4 different mindsets any member of an organization can have toward the achievement of a mission. So this is an internal conversation that aligns with our high performance leadership assessment. That high performance leadership assessment breaks down any given individual into 4 different mindsets, right? And this aligns with psychology on any level that you've heard it on. Okay, it's backed by research here. And we've had to date over 8,500 individuals, CEOs, business leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, founders to take our high performance leadership assessment and affirm everything that we found to be true, or our methodology behind the assessment itself. So that being said, there are 4 mindsets that we've come to. The first mindset that we have to understand about the people around us is what is known as a detrimental mindset, or sometimes referred to as a closed mindset or fixed mindset. This mindset views life from a place of no change. There is no change that can happen. And what happens naturally with the human mind when because the human mind is designed, it's orchestrated to find the biggest threat. Okay, because the main purpose of the mind is to keep us alive, right? So if a person has a detrimental mindset, naturally they have a negative viewpoint on life because they are not pressing into opportunity, right? They almost solely function with the amygdala of the brain. The amygdala of their brain is the primary factor to all decision making that they have. We call this a detrimental mindset. they will be able. Now sometimes that's a good thing, right? Being able to ask a person, hey, what's the worst thing that could happen in this situation? Go to a detrimental mindset and they'll be able to tell you better than everyone else, right? But in most cases, what you focus on is what you get. So that's not necessarily the mind that you want to have in your advisory board or in your brain trust, right? Now, the second mindset that there is what's known as unconscious stagnance. And unconscious stagnance is unconscious incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. Okay. This is most people in one or a few different areas of life, whether those areas be health, wealth, relationships, business, or leadership. Sometimes we don't know it all in these different areas. Sometimes we're great at some areas and other ones we're not. We suffer from unconscious stagnance in these other areas of life. All right. And that unconscious stagnance is rated, all of these mindsets are rated over effectiveness and time. So naturally, unconscious stagnance, if you drew a line representing time over the course of time, that line doesn't go up, it doesn't go down, it just stays the same, right? is they're dead to the world. They don't know what they don't know. Okay. The next one is what we call incremental mindset. And an incremental mindset is honestly the vast majority of people. This is mainstream. Incremental mindsets are people who just slowly but surely over the course of time improve and get better. Okay. This is the most people get better over the course of time. There's no drastic change, but over the course of time, most people get better. Why? Because most people are followers, and most followers are following someone that is on an upward trajectory. Okay. Most people, most people don't have the ambition or a vision that allows them to grow exponentially, which is the fourth mindset, exponential growth. An exponential mindset or a growth mindset or growth conscious mindset is very, very open to opportunities. And because they're very open to opportunities and they have the ability to adapt their forgive me, they have the ability to adapt their habits and change them and reform themselves. They're very open to growth. So they're almost constantly in an uncomfortable state because they're constantly growing. These individuals you see make rapid trajectories over the course of time. Right? They're highly effective individuals over the course of time. And so those are the four mindsets that you hear us mention right here when it comes to an organization. We get a feel for what the predominant mindset is in any organization through the high performance leadership assessment. Right here, depending on their attitude, it will usually determine their ability to grow within an organization. You've heard it before. Attitude determines altitude, right? So that's the reason that's what makes adaptability or attitude so important, right? Next that we have here is core values. Core values, okay? Core values. Now, when we look at core values, these core values should be anywhere between 2 and 5 words that resonate with your organization and resonate with the individuals within that organization. It has nothing to do with your service. It has nothing to do with your product. It has nothing to do with how you do business. It has everything to do with words or with virtues, with morals that harmonize with the mind and the mentality, the souls of the people within your organization. Okay. So core values answers this question. What do we stand for? What do we stand for? Right? What is it that we lean on? Okay. Core values are words that have nothing at all to do with the organization's identity, mission, or purpose, but everything to do with the moral compass, like I just mentioned, right? For us internally, those words are words like leadership, purpose, service, success. These are core values that align with Marq Neasman Consulting. You probably have your own. These, when we're looking to recruit or attract people, these are the words that we set out in front. And we say it all the time, hey, whenever we're recruiting any individual for any department, if you don't align with anywhere between 3 to 5 of these words, then this isn't the place for you. right? You will struggle here if you don't align with these core values, because everything about our culture is based on these values. Everything about how we navigate, how we have conversations, the metric system that we are graded on is all based around these core values. SOPs, KPIs are all predicated on these core values, right? So then right here, when we say keywords are completely transferable, right? These words are completely transferable and could apply to absolutely any organization at all. So like I said, they're not predicated to your service. They're not predicated to your product. They go beyond that. All right. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. These same core values could align and it could be a part of another organization in a completely different industry, and they would still resonate. Okay. These words are completely transferable. All right. Those are our core values. Again, it should be anywhere between 3 and 5 words that represent or embody the moral compass that you desire to have, that you desire every individual inside of your organization to have. Like I said, 3 to 5 is the ideal. I've seen as many as 7, but 3 to 5 is the ideal. I'll even say 2 to 5 is the ideal. And the ultimate goal from there is, again, you want the perfect employee has all of them. The perfect partner has all of them, right? This is obviously a great mechanism to draw partnerships and even clients, right? Because again, back to that high performance leadership conversation, right? This is the leadership part. Not only do you want to know that a person is able to deliver on the service, you want to know that they have a good moral compass that aligns with yours as well. So very important. Okay, next on the list is trust. And man, if I had to ask which one, if I had to hone in on just one that was more important than all of these here, I would absolutely say trust. Hands down, I would absolutely say trust. Trust is by far the most important. Now, some people say, oh, what is trust? The inquisitive mind will say, what is trust? And the way that we define trust is really the compilation of 2 mechanisms. One is transparency. In order to build trust, things must be transparent. Okay. And the second way to build trust is the truth. The truth, right? Telling the truth is how you build trust. Okay. Telling the truth. Okay. Now, if you had to add on another, I would say time. Applying transparency and the truth over the course of time is what builds trust. Okay. So this is nothing that can happen overnight. Trust is established by employee buy-in. How do you know if you're trusted internally? Is there a high degree of employee buy-in? Whenever you make transitions or make changes or implement these changes, do you see a high degree of buy-in or a high degree of adoptability? Are they adopting whatever changes you're implementing? If it's very low, that's a sign that there is low trust. If it's very high, that's a sign you have a high degree of buy-in. It is last because it's the hardest to develop, right? And usually comes after the following: identity, mission, purpose, attitude, core values, right? Have adequately been established. Once you've established all of the other concepts of the impact method, it makes trust so much easier. Leadership, here's the conduit. Leadership has very little say in whether trust has been established, but everything to do with whether it happens. Leadership has very little to say about whether trust is established, but has everything to do with whether it happens or not. Powerful. Powerful. I have no control over who trusts me. I have no control over that, which means I shouldn't focus my attention on that. But I have all of the control as to whether an individual is even given the opportunity or even has the thought to trust me. That is my complete control, right? And so everything that I'm doing should be predicated on transparency and truth. Every action I take should be predicated on transparency and on truth. All right. How do we do that internally? Literally, this high performance leadership masterclass, it was not invented. It wasn't created. This concept wasn't created here on YouTube for us to gain followers. That's an insider, right? Breaking news. It wasn't created for that. It was actually created for professional development internally. We wanted an easy way for every staff member, every associate, every employee, every partner to understand the inner workings of our organization. And so we started creating high performance leadership masterclasses here on YouTube so that people internally could learn about it. And now that creates another mechanism that implements trust and transparency. Because if we're willing to put this out in the public and let everyone out in the public see it, that creates another level of accountability internally. Because now anytime that people are not abiding by these concepts or by these rules, there's something that they can point to, right? Nothing is hidden. Everything is transparent, right? Everything is transparent. This is exactly what you require from your government. And it's the same thing that subconsciously we desire to see within the businesses and the companies that we patronize on a consistent basis. And so that concludes the impact method. Now, again, I would love to hear from you also. If you have any questions, please comment below. This has been another High Performance Leadership Masterclass. My name is Marq Neasman. It's such a privilege and honor to be here with you. Hey, we close out every masterclass or every meeting with the same saying, all right? And that saying is this: fix your crown or your mind and rule the day. Signing out. Peace and love.